Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this episode 3733 AN. Today's date is September 17th, 2025, and the title of the episode is Fed Cut Rates by 25 BPS. We're witnessing Trump's reset strategy, revaluation of gold. Let's talk about protecting our wealth. Do you ever wonder if your 401k or IRA will really cover your retirement? The truth is, traditional accounts often can't keep up with today's rising costs and an unpredictable economy. At My Digital Money, they believe your future deserves more than usual safe options. That's why My Digital Money makes it simple to invest your retirement funds in top-performing assets like Bitcoin, up over 1,000% in the past 5 years, and other cryptocurrencies, so you can build a stronger future with potential tax-free returns. With no annual fees, free cold storage to protect your assets, and a partnership with Equity Trust, the nation's largest self-directed IRA provider, managing over $74 billion, you can invest with confidence knowing your money will be there when you need it. You've worked hard for your savings. Now let your money work for you. Visit mydigitalmoney.com today and discover a smarter way to secure your future, or just click the link in the description. Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, the private West Central Bank, the World Economic Forum. You can see that Trump now, he has them exactly where he wants them. There was so much pressure on the Federal Reserve that they had to lower the rates by a quarter point. Think about it. If Trump didn't continually tell the Fed to lower the rates and continually tell the entire country that it was too late, and if Trump didn't replace the individual in the BLS, head of the BLS, and he never did any of this, we would never know that the job numbers were faked the entire time Biden was in office. And what this individual would have done is they would have continually made it seem like everything is fine and give the Fed ammunition not to lower the rate. And now they had to lower the rate. And actually, it is now proven that the Fed should have been lowering the rate going all the way back to when Trump pretty much first started, or maybe even before that, where they started to lower the rate during Biden's time. And then they decided to pause it during Trump's time. So this is why Trump is continually calling Powell too late. But I do believe this was done on purpose because they were trying to crash the economic system around Trump. That was their plan, and it still is their plan. They haven't deviated from this. But what Trump has done right now is he shifted everything, and now he's running the show. Because what is the Fed going to do at this point? Because once again, we know the job numbers are completely and utterly fake, which means they have no choice but to continually lower the rates. Now, should they lower the rates a lot more than a quarter point? I do believe they should. Are they going to do it? No, they'll probably do it in very slow increments, and they're probably hoping that they can probably skip certain months where they don't have to do this. Now, once again, we're going to see the economy improve, and it's going to improve like we've never seen before. And I do believe this is why Scott Bessent let everyone know in the fourth quarter of this year, we're going to see the economy really start to move. Now, of course, this is only a quarter of a point, but again, it adds fuel to Trump's new economic system. Now, is the economy going to be like the best thing that we've ever seen? No, but it's going to start to move, and we're going to see very, very small improvements, and people are going to feel this, which means people are going to say, oh, wait a minute, this is working. So wait a minute. So the Fed lowered the rates. We're seeing improvements. Trump was right again. I mean, we're already starting to see retail sales. They rose by 0.6% in August from July, and this was higher than the 0.3 increase that they expected. So this is very, very interesting. And they also revised the 0.6% up in the previous month. So we're seeing retail, it's getting better and better and better and stronger and stronger and stronger. And now we could see that Trump, he has leverage that he needed going all the way back to when he first came into office. I do believe he's going to get additional leverage. Now, remember, Moran, he is now on the Fed board. He hasn't given up his job in the White House. He just took a leave of absence right now. And it looks like that he's very upset about this. But he is now in position to help Trump. Now, this was done on purpose, I do believe, because, again, I do believe we're going back to the Constitution. We're going back to most likely the gold standard. And he's going to put the pressure on Cook because he needs Cook out of there. And every time Cook tries to fight back, it's going to get worse and worse for her. And eventually she will leave, which means Trump will have control over the Federal Reserve. And what is he doing right now? He's prepping the entire country to move into the new parallel economic system and bring us back to the Constitution. Now, to do this, he's going to start to remove income taxes. He's going to have the tariffs and the sale of oil and the sale of the gold card and technology sales. All that is going to pay for the income tax that's being removed. Because remember, the income tax was set up by the central bank system. They wanted to take the wealth from the people. And you could see that when you start to look at gold and when you start to look at the Constitution, the gold is only valued, I think, at $42 an ounce right now. Can you imagine if we go ahead and we look into the vaults and we find out that we have a lot more gold than even we anticipated? Maybe the central bankers, maybe they hid the gold in Fort Knox. Maybe they brought more gold in there, but they never wanted anyone to understand that we had so much gold. Wouldn't that be interesting? Let me ask you something. If you've built 100,000 or more in investments, do you really want all of it riding on the stock market? Think about it. Banks, billionaires, even entire countries are loading up on physical gold and silver. Why? Because when markets swing, real assets hold their value. That's why I want to tell you about Noble Gold Investments. They make it simple to own investment-grade gold and silver, the kind the big players are buying. And you can actually hold it in your hand or put it safely in your retirement account. You've worked hard to build your wealth. Isn't it time you protected it? Noble Gold is family-owned, trusted by thousands, and ranked number one in gold IRAs for 4 years in a row. Their precious metal specialists are standing by to answer your questions and walk you through every step. Simple, safe, and easy. Visit x22gold.com. That is x22gold.com. Or just click the link in the description. And remember, past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals involves risk. Consult your financial advisor before making investment decisions. But think about what Trump and the Patriots are setting up right now. They're setting it all up so when it's time to revalue the gold, everything is going to change. Joe Lynch put this out and said, this is huge deal and is flying under the radar. U.S. Senate voted 48-47 to confirm U.S. President Trump's Fed nominee, Moran, to join the Fed board. Controlled demolition. Moran is a critical pawn. That's why he barely passed confirmation. The enemy fears Moran. The Senate has confirmed him. Trump's pick is going to join the Federal Reserve Board of Governors. He will participate in the Fed Policy Committee's upcoming meeting where the board will consider whether to cut interest rates, which they just did. Moran will also keep his White House position at the helm of the Council of Economic Advisors, but he'll be taking an unpaid leave to serve on the central bank board. Now, Stephen Moran's appointment to the Federal Reserve isn't just another personnel move. It's the placement of Trump's reset architect inside the very institution that will help carry out America's most ambitious economic overhaul in generations. Trump's personal reset architect is now working with the Fed that Trump is dismantling. Controlled demolition. Without getting into the weeds, Moran, the mastermind behind what's been dubbed the Mar-a-Lago Accord, outlined a comprehensive plan to flip the U.S. dollar's reserve status from a burden, a debt instrument, into a bargaining chip, to turn America's towering debt from an embarrassment into leverage, and to reorient the entire global economic structure in Washington's favor. Moran is the architect of the Mar-a-Lago Accord. This plan will no longer force the world into more debt by propping up the fiat dollar. The entire global financial system is going to be transformed. The fiat dollar is going into a trash bin of history, along with the Fed control of our financial system. And of course, what makes this especially relevant right now, particularly for anyone with gold exposure, is the timing. The yellow metal has been on a relentless march higher throughout 2025, setting multiple all-time highs and blasting past $3,400 an ounce just last month. It is now up to $3,700 plus. Now with Moran's appointment to the Fed, we're seeing exactly why smart money has been quietly accumulating the yellow metal all year. But anyone thinking Moran's appointment is simply about giving Trump another dovish vote for rate cuts is missing the much bigger picture. Gold isn't just rising because of an anticipated rate cut. It's been rising because informed investors recognize that Trump's reset strategy would eventually require the systematic weakening of the dollar dominance and a potential gold revaluation. There are two reasons why Trump wants rate cuts. It helps the housing market, which is one of the biggest drivers of economic productivity, but rate cuts will also lower the value of the dollar globally. More countries will dump the dollar and return to using their own sovereign currencies. Right before the world goes back to a gold standard, the new golden age, the reset strategy involves coordinating dollar devaluation, but that requires the Fed to be on board. You can't orchestrate a Plaza Accord style currency adjustment if your central bank is fighting you every step of the way. When they're on inside the Fed, Trump gets someone who understands both the macroeconomics theory behind the dollar devaluation and the practical mechanics of how to execute through monetary policy, the institutional capture of monetary policy. And think about it. Think about the revaluation of gold. So if gold continually moves up and it's revalued from $42 an ounce to, let's say, $3,700 or $4,000 or $5,000, whatever they decide to revalue it at, and I think what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to strip away the paper markets. They're going to have to strip away all the manipulation, and they're going to say, okay, let's look at the fiat currency. Let's see how much that's worth. Let's see how much gold is now worth compared to that. I do believe you're going to see a revaluation much, much higher than 3,700. I think it's going to be much higher than that, which means if we have a lot more gold in our vaults, it means that Trump will have tremendous amount of leverage against the central bank system. Remember the post that says gold will destroy the Fed? Let's just put this into perspective. Let's just take a look at, let's say, Fort Knox. Now, there's supposed to be 4,583 tons of gold in there. We'll just use that number. Let's just say that gold is there. That's what they've been saying for a very long time. And right now, since gold is now valued at $42 an ounce, what does that give us? That gives us what, $6 billion and change of worth of gold? Yes. Let's revalue the gold to 3,700. Well, that would give us 545 billion. Let's bring it up to 10,000. That would give us 1.4 trillion. If we bring it up to 20,000 an ounce, that is $3 trillion. And if we go higher than that, and really think about this, if we take the 4,500 or so metric tons and we strip away all the manipulation, we look at the value of the fiat currency and we see how much value it has lost, because remember, we're seeing 3,000% inflation, which means the value of the dollar has gone way down. And we go back to the 1913 calculation. What would gold be worth today? 35,163, which means people would definitely see that the fiat currency is worth absolutely nothing. And it would give Trump, the Patriots, a lot of leverage. And I do believe this is what Trump now is moving towards. Do I believe we have a lot more gold than this? I think we do. And remember, Fort Knox is just one area where they keep the gold. So really think about this. If there's a lot more gold than is being reported, will gold then destroy the fiat currency? Will destroy the Fed? Yes, because what people are going to see is they're going to see that, wait a minute, the fiat currency is worth absolutely nothing. And you have to remember, when you look at this and you look at what's been going on up to today, you could see that it's not 2%, 1% inflation. It's over 3,000% inflation. So that should tell you everything you need to know. But I do believe Trump, he is doing this step by step to take control because, again, he is competing with a central bank system. And the central bank system, yes, they're trying to fight back. They're trying to fight back, but they're losing every step of the way. And what happens when central banks lose? Because they don't like to lose. They like to stay in control. They push events. That's what they do. So that's something that we must look out for. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to do it. It's on schedule, and this is when they're going to do it. But again, when they're losing control, this is what they end up doing. Because if they can't have control, they don't want anyone else to have control. Now, I do believe Trump and the Patriots, they know the playbook. They know that they're going to try to do this. But what we're going to see over the next couple of months, we're going to see the economy start to improve a little bit. Now, I'm not going to say it's going to be absolutely incredible, but people are going to say, okay, look at this. Things are getting a little bit better. Things are starting to move along. Businesses are able to do a little bit more. And I do believe as we move into 2026, I do believe we're going to see the Fed probably cut another quarter point. Now, they're going to probably try to stretch this out as best they possibly can, because I don't think they really want to continually lower the rate. Actually, we should be much, much lower at this point. And Trump patriots, they know this. They know we should be probably down almost 2 points right now. And we're going to see Trump put a lot more pressure on the Federal Reserve. And we're going to see that the pressure on to remove Cook is going to increase. And eventually Trump will win. Trump will definitely remove Cook. They will lose control over the Fed. Trump will replace Cook, and he will have the leverage that he needs to actually drop the rates very, very quickly. Now, will this happen the first quarter, second quarter? We'll have to wait to see. But I do believe it's going to happen in the year of 2026, probably in the very, very beginning. And I don't think it's going to take that long. Now, once again, once the deep state players, the central bankers see this happening, yes, they're going to fight back with everything that they have. But I do believe Trump knows this, and he's already preparing for this. And this is why he put certain things into place to make sure that the economy stays stable while the deep state, the central bankers, try to bring it down, because that's been their entire mission from the very, very beginning. What do you think the Great Reset was all about? It wasn't about, hey, let's keep this economy and let's just keep going in the same direction. The Great Reset, the Green New Scam, was to bring us into their green world, which is really not going to be a green world. Basically, they wanted depopulation. They wanted everyone in a smart city, and they wanted to have the central bank digital currency so they can control every aspect of the economic system and control the people. The Great Reset was downing their own economic system and bringing us into that system that I just mentioned. So that's what they've always planned on doing. And if they could blame it on Trump, that's exactly what they were going to do. And they're still going to try to do this. But I do believe that Trump, he's working very, very quickly, trying to gain the leverage that he needs. And you can see that every step of the way, that's exactly what is happening. He's gaining the leverage that he needs. And the central bank, as he gains the leverage, they're going to become more and more desperate as time goes on. And in the end, no matter what they try to do, they're going to lose this battle. Because remember, as Trump continually builds the new parallel economic system and has the tariffs, has the energy prices falling, has people buying the gold card, manufacturers are building the manufacturing plants in this country, they won't be able to stop this. And as people get jobs and people feel more comfortable and they go out and they purchase items in the economy, retail sales are going to go up. And as the rates keep coming down, it's going to allow people to purchase homes, cars, and whatnot. So in the end, all of this is going to fail around the central bank. And this is going to have a domino effect across the entire world, because the entire world is then going to follow suit. Once the United States moves away from the central bank system and we take control over our currency, the rest of the world is going to follow. And this is going to be the end of the central bank. They'll try to fight, they'll try to push back, but each country is going to follow suit. It's not going to happen all at once, but they will. And this is going to be a disaster for the central bank, which means every single country is going to go back to their national currency. They're probably going to peg it to gold. And yes, they'll probably use Bitcoin for international trade, and it'll make it easier for people to go from country to country to country with their currency. So once again, we could see where this is all headed, and Trump now has pushed the Fed to lower the rates, and this is not going to be the only one. And in the end, what we're going to see is we're going to see that Trump's new system, it's going to tower above the central bank system. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.